Happy Black History Month. The Black History Month spotlight for today is Katherine Johnson. She was born in 1918 in West Virginia, and she really had a gift with numbers. She graduated from high school. No, she started high school at the age of 10, and she graduated from college at the age of 18. She went on to work at the National Advisory Committee for Aeronautics, which is the precursor to NASA. And she worked on very complex math problems by hand. And in 1962, when astronaut John Glenn was orbiting the Earth, he insisted that Katherine Johnson check the numbers. He didn't want to trust the numbers from the new computer system. He wanted to make sure that Katherine Johnson confirmed that those calculations were correct. You may remember Katherine Johnson was really highlighted in the movie Hidden Figures, along with a number of other Black women that many of us did not know about prior to the movie Hidden Figures. And in 2015, Katherine Johnson was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is the highest civilian honor in the United States. So I want to give it just a little reflection on Katherine Johnson in terms of how her story really inspires me. So when I learned more about Katherine Johnson and how she was really brilliant in the field of mathematics, I was intrigued because math has never been something I love to do. And I think a lot of Black women, I think a lot of women actually have been told that, math doesn't come easy to us. And, there's like this stigma about math. But Katherine Johnson really opened the door for so many Black women in terms of the field of math for us. So when I think about that this woman was a genius in the field of mathematics, it relates to my story. And when I think about how many times the message was that, oh, don't worry about math or whatever. And I remember that when I was going into high school, my mother told me to go up to the school to register for pre-algebra because she knew I was going to take algebra during the school year. So she said, take pre-algebra during the summer. And this is my first time going up to the high school. It's a pretty large high school. And when I got to the high school and I met my guidance counselor, I'd never met her before. She did not look like us. And she said, oh, no, I've already registered you for remedial math. And I was like, wait a minute, no, like I'm going to register for pre-algebra. But she kept insisting to put me in remedial math. Now, I knew it was a problem, but this woman was so forceful about putting me in remedial math. And I was like, I don't like math, but I can do math. I don't need to be in remedial math. So I go home and I tell my mother, and she says, you go back and you register for pre-algebra tomorrow. I go back to school the next day, and the woman does the same exact thing. So now I'm dreading going home because my mother is a very strong-willed Black woman, and she was a former jail warden. So I really did not want to go back and tell her that I didn't register. So I told her, and she said, I'm going to go to school tomorrow. So my mom went to school the next day. And as she walked into the counselor's office, the counselor didn't really greet my mom. She was kind of just looking down as her mother walked into the room. And keep in mind, my counselor was like this older woman. She had like a dome of like white hair, and she was about 4 feet something. My mother is 6 feet tall without heels, but during that time she used to wear heels. So she was about 6'3". And so she comes in the office, and the woman, is very dismissive of my mother. She says, oh, I've already put Kamani in remedial math. My mom said, no, you're going to put my daughter in pre-algebra. And they're going back and forth a little bit, but my mother doesn't have that much patience. So she eventually like slammed her hand on the desk, and she stood up and she towered over her. And she said, you are going to put my daughter in pre-algebra. And the woman said, oh, no problem, no problem. Of course, of course. Now that's an example that I reflect on about math. The issue is math. But this woman who had never known me, never met me, My grades did not reflect that I needed to be in remedial math, but she was trying to gear me in a certain direction. I think about how many other kids has she done that to? How many other Black kids has she done that to? But my mother really advocated for me. And really, what's so interesting about that is that because my mother advocated for me and because she taught me to advocate for myself, but then she had to come in to kind of back me up, was during the graduation of my high school, during the graduation, there was about 10% Black at the school. So at the graduation breakfast, there was a lot of kids graduating. This counselor came and sat next to my mother and I. Out of all the kids, out all the family's kids, she came and sat next to us. And when I went off to college, my mother would be in the grocery store in the community, and my mother would really see her because she was so short. The woman with the counselor was so short. But she would like chase my mother down the grocery store. How's Kamani doing in college? And it's kind of like something my mother and I can still talk about to this day, kind of laugh about, like how ridiculous that was. But again, it was an issue that I think many Black kids encounter in schools with racism, with counselors trying to direct them in a different direction. So again, it's important for us to really advocate for ourselves, teach our children how to advocate for themselves, and say no when something is not okay. So again, I was inspired by Katherine Johnson and wanted to share that little story with you because I read more about her. And as I was preparing to do this video today, I again had that memory in relation to the issue of math. So I just wanted to share that with you briefly, the spotlight for today. If you don't know me already, I'm Dr. Kamani. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist of over 20 years. I'm also a toxic job survivor, but more importantly, I'm a toxic job liberator. And Katherine Johnson, like all the other Black women that I've spotlighted thus far, they are all sisters in the struggle for liberation, just as you are, just as I am. So let us remember that we will continue to fight. We will rest when we need it, and we'll get back up and fight again. Okay? So I will see you later. Take care. Bye-bye.